Welcome back to our Amud Yomi Shiur. After Yom Kippur, we are all nice and clean, and now we are going to be learning even better. Metzia Hashem, the Amud Yomi. We are in Daf Kuf Yud Daled Amud Beis. Kuf Yud Daled Amud Beis in the middle of the page. Kid, it's not no kidding. We learned before Yom Kippur about Eliyahu Novi, the story of Eliyahu Novi that appears over here. A few things I want to add to the story. We said Eliyahu Novi was a Kohen, and as I told you, Torah brings down. Yes, according to the Gemara, was a Kohen, so he was not allowed to be in Basic Kvaris. Yeah, then he was questioned, he was confronted, if you're a Kohen, why in Basic Kvaris? And he answered, Basic Kvaris of a Goyim doesn't bring Tumah. What? So Leonov is never dead, but he just visited the Basic Kvaris. Now, the Yichus of Leonov is really a question. Some say it was from Binyamin, some say it was from God. And really, I thought maybe the idea is that Leonovi represents the whole of Klal Yisrael. Leonovi is coming on behalf of all of us, and from Cohen. So then, yeah, it's from Levi if he's a Cohen. And then the question, and then that's the reason maybe. The reason is because he's really coming to somehow represent all of us. Another point, why is it at the end of the story, we said that the money, the 12,000 dinarim, were given to the sons-in-law, right? Yeah, at the end of the day, Rabbi Baravua gave the right. He went to Gan Eden, and his cloak became, infused with the beautiful aroma of Gan Eden, of the leaves of Gan Eden, and then he squeezed it, and that beautiful juice, whatever there was, that aroma, that perfume, was sold for 12,000 dinarim. That's a lot of money. So why did he give it to his sons-in-law? Because he himself, a lot of Meforshim say that. I saw it in like 4 places. Marshal, many others, they say, because he didn't want to enjoy anything from Gan Eden. He was rebuked in Shemaim, why are you enjoying something you're going to get in the world to come? So even though he made the 12,000, so he himself still didn't want to enjoy it in this world. Secondly, it says in the Gemara somewhere else that you're not supposed to be nene from Nisim. Yeah, the Gemara in Tainis and other places says if a person has a miracle happening to him, he's not supposed to actually benefit from the nes. That's an Indian of itself. And this was a kenes. What? Rashbi, what was Rashbi? He had no choice. He had to exist on that. He didn't make money from it. Maybe there's a question. So the answer is, yeah, so that's a business. Now, the reason why I gave it to his sons-in-law is because he himself didn't want to enjoy, or his children. His children eventually are going to inherit him. It's like the same family. It blibes in the mishpocha, stays in the family. But the sons-in-law are a separate entity. To them he gave it. Okay, and they'll be happy with him as a good shver. Now we are continuing to back into our topic. What's the topic? If one has a collateral, a mashkoin, a rovoin, ovoit, there are many words used for that word. The person lent money to someone. Now he wants to get it back. And the borrower is not giving the money back, the cash. So meanwhile, he's taking a mashkoin. That is if he took it at the time of the piroin. Payday came and money wasn't given, so instead of the money, he takes an item, and then there are many, many details and exceptions to this rule. Okay, says the Braisa, Tono Bonon. It says in the Torah, Ve'im ish onihu lo sishka ba'avoitoi. If the person, the borrower, is a poor man, do not sleep wearing the avoit. Don't sleep. Let's say you took his pajama. Don't sleep with the pajama on your body. Yeah, because why? That's what the Torah says. Now, wait a second. If he's poor, then I'm not allowed to benefit from his mashkoin, from the collateral I took from him. I'm not allowed to use it. Oshi or shochiv. Let's say the person is rich. He has 12 pairs of designer pajamas. Yeah, he doesn't miss it at all. Then, if he's a rich person, am I allowed to use his pajamas? Yeah, he doesn't care. Am I allowed to use his pajamas? Maika Omar. Is that what the Torah is telling me? There's a problem here, says Rashi, of ribis. Even if the other side agrees, if I lent the rich person, I don't know, 12,000 shekels, the 12,000 dinorim from before, yeah? And I'm taking the mashkin and I'm sleeping with the mashkin on my body, that's ribis, right? Why? I'm going to get back the 12,000 from him eventually, plus the usage of the pajama. That's worth money. Go to rent a pajama, they charge money, right? So you see what? You see the ribis doesn't apply. What's going on here? Who cares whether it's rich or poor? No, hachiko. This is what the Torah says. Ve'imish onihu lotishka avoitoi etzlecho. Doesn't mean ba'avoitoi wearing the avoit. It means to say if he's a poor person, don't, and that's his only pajama, don't sleep in your own pajama, your own bed, your own thing with his pajama etzlecho in your possession because he's missing it and he needs to sleep in it to wear it while he's asleep. If he's rich and he has 12 pajamas, he has enough pajamas, he doesn't care. And if he's a rich person, you're allowed to hold back onto his fancy, nice pajamas or to whatever he has, even at night, as long as you don't wear it. Because if you wear it, it's ribis. You're allowed to have it with you, not sleep with it on your body. Use it, just have it in your possession, in your domain. By the way, there's a famous Shulchan Aruch Mishnah Berurah. It says that maybe Ramon. It says if one has mashkan of goyim in Leila Seder, you're supposed to have a very lavish, royal, regal table, a very nice a nice setup for Leila Seder. So it says if you have a goyish person who you lent to and he gave you his mashkan, you're allowed to place it on the Seder table. Why a goy? Because from a goy, you're allowed to take ribis. That's why it says a goy, not a Jew. That's the point. Because a Jew, if he uses mashkan, it's ribis. Tono abonon. More on the same. Tono abonon. Now comes the brisa. We have to analyze this brisa by breaking it to 3 different parts. 1 second, please. Yeah. Tono abonon. Hamal ve'es chaveroi. Statement number 1. Hamal ve'es chavero eno ashel mashkenoi. A person who lent money to his friend is not allowed to take a collateral. What? Well, what does lamashkenoi mean? Must be, as we said in the Mishnah, to go to his house. Very good, to go to his house. You're not allowed to barge in or even knock on the door and force and come in and barge in and take the mashkoin. Okay, you're not allowed to. Eno ashel mashkoin. Fine, that we've learned already. And then it says ve'einu chayv lachzir lo. Second statement. Important to break this down. Second statement. Einu chayv lachzir lo. Yeah, you're not supposed to give him back the mashkoin at night. Interestingly, you don't have to give it back and forth every night, the pajama, unlike what we learned before. 3, and if you did not give it back, then you're breaking all these surim deoraisa. It says in the Torah, once in Shmois and once in Dvorim, it says you have to give it when the night comes, when the day comes, yeah, and loy tavo tavoita, there's a love, all these surim deoraisa and the esim, you're over. Now, this is very confusing. Mike Omer says, what are you talking about? On one hand, you're telling me I'm not supposed to give it back. And then he says that if I didn't give it back or something like that, I have an Isur Doraisa. You just said I don't have to. I have to, I don't have to. This Brisa is very broken down. And there are 3 parts to the Brisa again. Don't take mashkon into his house. Don't give him back the mashkon if you took it. And you're over all kinds of Isur Doraisa. Let's try and make head and tails over here. Mike Omer, what's going on? We're going to see 2 opinions on how to interpret the Brisa of Sheshes and Rove. Omar of Sheshes. Explanation number 1. Omar of Sheshes. Hachikoma. This is what the Brisa says. Hamal ve'es chaveroi, person who lent his friend, eno ashel mashkenoi. That's for sure. To barge in, just go into his house. You're not supposed to. Rav Sheshes doesn't care when. If by the time of the alvo or later, never go into the house of the loive, cause him this discomfort, and never, choose yourself. He'll give you what he wants and you stay outside. So far, so good. Now he's making a huge change in the Brisa, huge change, claiming the Brisa, the way we got it was wrong. He erased the loy. Here's a small difference. If you took the mashkoin against halacha, now you have to give it back to him. Interestingly enough, I saw in the Meforshim, then you have to give him back every night. Very interesting. In other words, if he gave it to you by his own will, according to Rav Sheshes, you don't have to ping pong and give it back every night. Very, very big chiddush. Big chiddush. You did it the wrong way. Yeah, you did ovoit in a way you're not supposed to be oivet by taking it by force. From his house going in. Then you have to give it back to him, not for good. Then you have to give it back to him every time he needs it, whenever he goes to sleep, let's say, or in the morning when he needs the plow, right? And if you didn't do that, makes sense. The over b'chol Hashem esalalu aseifa. In other words, that statement that you're breaking all the Isurim D'Oraisa if you don't, goes on the Seifa, meaning on the second part. If you did not give it back to him when you're supposed to, you have Issa D'Oraisa. Now, the Lamaisa of Sheshes, according to Sheshes, the Brisa was Mechadish, that the whole chiyuv of giving back and forth is only if you did it, if you barged in. Okay, otherwise, no. Otherwise, no. If he chose to give you, stood outside like a little good boy, and he gave you the pillow, even though that's his only pillow, I'm now assuming, as I'm talking to you, I assume that's the Svar of Sheshes. He chose to give me the pillow. He knew what he's doing. So that was his choice. It's his only pillow. Don't start playing, emotional blackmail. He chose to give me the pillow. I'll keep it all the time. That's probably the idea of Rav Sheshes. Oh, I'm mechaven to your opinion. That's Rav Sheshes. Yeah, thank you. Rove Omar, Rove says different. Rav Sheshes, by the way, is not the halacha. Rove Omar, and halacha is going to be like Rova. Hachiko Omar. This is how I interpret the Brisa. I'll tell you one thing before we read Rova, and that will make it easier for you to understand. Rova fixes the Brisa, but less. Rava changes the Brisa less. Rav Sheshes basically added the word loy, one tiny word, right? Rav Sheshes says, Rav Sheshes changed from yes to no, that you're not supposed to take, and if you took, you are supposed to give it back to him. That's mamish black and white. Rava makes a more subtle change to the Brisa. Rava also changes this impossible kivyochol Brisa, but his change is more subtle. What does Rava say? Achikoma. That's always a good point, safe place to start from. You're not supposed to go into his house without him, without his consent and take good. Now, at the beginning, Rava starts off like Rav Sheshes. If you did, you have to give it back to him day and night. However, Bamed Dvorim Amurim, Bamed Dvorim Amurim, here comes over with a big exception to the rule. When is that true that you have to give it back to him and you were wrong and you have to give it back to him now every night? If you took it not at the time of Alva, meaning this is very, very crucial. What do you mean not at the time of the Alva? Let's say the Alva was Rosh Chodesh Nisan, no mashkin was mentioned. A month later, Rosh Chodesh Iyar was payday, and you are a little bit antsy and a little bit like, where's my money? And then you went at the time of the pay and you took it not the right time, meaning in a pressurizing way. Yeah, you already pressed for your money, which should have gotten back to you and didn't. At that point, if you took the mashkoin without, according to Rashi, it means without his consent, meaning we assume that the guy's pressed and you went in because he didn't pay on time, then you're supposed to give it to him every time, every night, every day. However, if it was done originally with his consent at the time of Alva, you're sitting together with big smiles in an air-conditioned office, and you said, here's the money, let's decide, let's agree. And then there was an agreement to what? To have a mashkoin. And then he said, I'll give you my pillow by his consent. Oh, here the Brisa is not so wrong, the text of the Brisa, because it says, the Brisa says you don't have to give it back to him. It says, rather true. The Brisa is partially right. There are situations where you don't have to give it back to him, and that is if it was originally done by the time of the Alva with his consent. Again, the Oiver B'chol Hashem Salalu goes in the first case. If you were bad, you were wrong, and at the time of non-halva, you took it, and it's probably against his will at the time of the non-halva, the time of the supposed payment, then you're supposed to give it back to him. And if you didn't, bad boy, you're over Sodoraisa. That was, my friends, Rashi. Other Rishonim, and at the end of the day, Shulchan Aruch is like them. The Gemara doesn't say consent or not consent. Rashi reads that into the Gemara, the Heilige Rashi. Nobody argues on Rashi, but some Rishonim do. The Baal Amor, for example. And he says no. The question is the time. If at the time of Alva, which is usually his consent, but the time of the agreement, you took it and you took the pillow, you don't have to give it back. And that's Halach in Shulchan Aruch. Even a poor person who gave you his one and only pajama, but there was at the time of Alva, as he took the money, he gave you his pajamas, the one and only, I don't have to give it back. That was his consent. But she'en ken, if after the time of the Alva, let's say by the time of payment, supposed payment, even if he agreed, Listen to me, not like Rashi. Even if he agreed, says Shulchan Aruch, then what? Then I have to give it back to him every time. Why? Because if it's done at the time of the piroin, of the supposed payment at payday, then even if he agreed, he's pressed for it. Yeah. So whether it's through Beis Din or you or him or whoever, at the end of the day, that situation, you always have to give it back to him back and forth. If it's a poor man, that's his only garment. Let's summarize. Rava. Rava is the halacha. I saw it today in Shulchan Aruch, and I saw it yesterday in Shulchan Aruch. Believe it or not, I managed to learn yesterday night thanks to my family. Yeah, my son-in-law built my sukkah. So now, yeah, again, what does the halacha say? If he's a rich man, you don't have to give back. The man has 10 pajamas. It doesn't hurt him whatsoever. As long as I don't use it, because it's ribis, I can sleep nicely with my pajama and his pajamas in the cupboard, and I don't have to give it back to him. And unless he gives me the payment, his fancy designer French pajama will stay with me. Okay? That's a rich man. The poor man depends. If the poor man decided on his own accord at the time of alvo, when everything was nicely arranged at the time of the loan, yeah, when everything was pre-arranged with a contract and everything, and then he says, I'm giving you my one and only pajama, I don't have to give it back to him. However, if at the time of the payment, supposed payment, he doesn't pay, and then what? Either Beis Din, which is legal, or I went, which is illegal, assuming I'm the malve, I'm the lender, then what am I supposed to do? Always give it back to him, even if it was his agreement and he gave it to me by himself. Yeah, it does make a difference, because once it's done by payday, then I'm supposed to give it back to him, not for good. Every night I have to give it back to him. Or let's say Misken has one shirt. You know, Rav Shach Zatzal, when he was in yeshiva, he had one shirt for years. He would have to wash it himself by night. It was a whole story. He was during the Holocaust, yeah. And then, yeah, some people only have one shirt, lo aleinu. Then you have to give it back to him every morning. Yeah, if he's a poor man, if he was not at the time of Avo, but at the time of the supposed piroin. Okay, very nice. Yes, now is the possible time for questions. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Says the Braise. Oh, here we have a classical case of an Amoira who's trying to figure out again what it says in the Braisa, and he's learning the Braisa, saying over the Braisa in front of another bigger Chacham, a bigger Amoira, to know what's going on here. Tani Rav Shezvi Kamei de Rove. Rav Shezvi quoted the following Braisa in front of Rova. What did the Braisa say? The Braisa quoted two psukim, can be very misleading, so let's read it carefully. It says in one pasuk here, Ad boy hashemesh teshivenu loy. Very misleading. Until the sun sets, boy hashemesh, you have to return it to him. Yeah, this is a very misleading pasuk. Ad boy hashemesh teshivenu loy means that you are supposed to give him the item. I'm not telling you now if it's the day item or night item, if it's a shirt or a pajama. Ad b'Hashemesh teshivenu loy means you have to give him back the item, yeah, by day. Teshivenu loy, you give it back to him by day, and he wears it by day. Ad, until the night. By night, he's supposed to give it back to you, and you take it back from him. Yeah, he has it ad boy Hashemesh. Listen to the word ad. Until nighttime, it's by him. Comes nighttime, comes night to sleep, sleepy, twinkling star. Then you give it back. Then he, the loive, gives it back to you, the malve, and it says zuksus laila. Oh, that's a pajama. Doesn't make sense, right? Yeah, we said the other way around. The pajama at night is supposed to be by him. I, the malve, I'm not supposed to get it back, but that's what the Brisa says. And then what's the other pasuk saying? Another pasuk telling us, Hashav toshiv lo avoit kevoy hashemesh. You have to return him the avoit. Avoit is also mashkan and collateral. When, as the night sets, that's a more understandable pasuk. When the night comes, then give him the item. Zoksus yoim. It's a daytime. What? Doesn't make sense, right? Zoksus yoim, the day item, you give it to him by night. That is what the Brisa says. Rav Shizvi now is teaching Rava, is telling Rava this, yeah, this Brisa. Omar Le, Rava says, excuse me, Rava is asking, excuse me, says Rava. The imaba belela lamali, but the lelia bimama lamali. But we were asking, why do, yeah, the imama belela, why? Why should you give it back to him, yeah, the day suit, the day dress, the day shirt, you give it to him by night? And the night one you give by day? Why? Doesn't make sense, right? It should be the other way around. Omer le, so now Rav Shezvi asked Rava in return, Ismei, he's asking Rava, shall I erase that brisa? Because brises we know are not as precise as Mishnayos. Is this brisa wrong? Is this brisa really a brisa which should be erased and I should really not garson it, not hold of it? Omer le, Rava says no, the brisa has hope. The brisa makes sense, but the brisa means different to the way you thought it means. Hachika, this is what the brisa means. Ad boy hashemesh tishvenu loy. Yeah, when it says give it to him till nighttime and take it back by night, zuk sus yoim. It's a ksus yoim, the day thing, right? By night, as the night falls, he wears his pajama and he gives you his shirt, the ksus yoim. So why did we call it ksus laila? Why did the Brisa call it the night garment? No, it's called the night garment, not the garment that you sleep wearing. Shenitna lachbol balayla. It means we're talking in halacha. We're not in a designer fashion here. Nitna lachbol balayla. That item that one is supposed to hold, lachbol, to actually take as a collateral and hold onto it by night is the day thing, right? Which item of the poor man am I allowed to hold by night? It's called ksus laila because I, the malve, am allowed to have it in my house by night. It's his day shirt. And the other way around too. Hoshev toshiv lo esa'avad kivoy hashemesh. You know what the Torah means when it says, give it back to him when the night falls. You give it to him when the night falls? Yeah, kivoy hashemesh. Zuksus laila shenit nalach bol bayoim. Yeah, the one that Hoshev toshiv kivoy hashemesh, the one that you get back by night, yeah, is ksus laila. What do you mean the ksus laila? The ksus laila, he should have it by night, not you. Shenit nalach bol bayoim. Yeah, in other words, the pajama, I'm supposed to hold by me during the day. It's called the ksus yoim, even though it's pajama, because it's always by me by day and by him by night. In other words, nothing really changed. The halacha is the same. The pajama stays by him by night, and the shirt of the day stays by him by day. The Brisa says it in an interesting way from the Malva's perspective. From the Malva's point of view, you have ksus yoim. What do you have during the day, Mr. Malva? The night thing. What do you have by night? The day thing. That's why we called it that way. The Brisa just spoke from the perspective of the Malva, from the halachic perspective. Oh, here comes another very, very, very important piece of thing, also la halacha. Omer Rabbi Yochanan. Oh, what did we say in the Mishnah about the children of the loive? The children of the loive, they, at some point, the person died, while before he managed to give back the loan, right? Now, the malve has the avoid, the mashcoin, the collateral in his possession. I'm not yet talking about, now we're going to see if there's a difference, whether it's actually holding on to the mashcoin at the moment of death or not. But there is a mashcoin there at the time of the death of the loive. Now his children are in the story. And everybody here in the room knows that, generally speaking, if we leave mashcoin and ovid alone, let's say there are no mashkonis in the world, generally speaking, the loive's children, they do pay when? They pay if there's a karka. If there's a piece of land, because the piece of land remains the same, it's an olive. The sheikh metaltalin are not arevi. Metaltalin are movable, they can get burned, they can get lost, yeah. And therefore the metaltalin now owned by the children, those metaltalim are not meshubad, are not committed to go to the hands of the mother. That's generally speaking. I just want to point out that's true in the Torah and in the Gemara, but later on, at the time of the Geoinim, there was a takana that you do have to give back loans. I don't know the details, but yeah, I'm saying, Ba'aloch, it's different. Amar B'yochanan. With that in mind, everything will be easier now. Amar B'yochanan. Mishkenoi. Let's say the person was Mashken, yeah, the Malve got the collateral, the mace. And now what? Now the person died. And let's say, now listen carefully. You know this game, Lahavdil, of the children, there's a ball game. If the ball is in your court, you win. The ball is my court, I win, right? Or vice versa. Let's say Mishkenoi, the mace, the loive died. He scanned such terrible deaths, he died. And then, at the moment of death, that pillow, and let's say they're a poor family, and that one pillow, that one pajama was where? was in the hands of the children of the loive. Shoim to mal gabe bonov. Wow. Although usually we say that items belonging to them stay by them and they're not meshubad to the malve, here he is supposed to allow to, the malve is allowed to go to the house, take the pajama or the pillow, the necessary thing, yeah, not super necessary, but I'm saying things that even things they need by night or by day, and it stays by him and he doesn't have to give it back to them. Doesn't have to give it back to them. And we saw in the Mishnah, the Drosha, it says loy. You have to give the avoid loy v'loy lebonov. The children don't have to give anything back. That's a chiddush. That's what Rabbi Yochanan is saying. Yeah, also inspired by what we saw in the Mishnah already. Yeah, why? What's the reason? Says Rashi here. 3 words. Came in the mashkene kanye. There's a concept that says that if a person, it's Rabbi Yitzchak, who said it where in Daf Pei Beis, menayin lebal choiv shekoin mashkoin. A bal choiv that got a mashkoin into his hand, he's like the owner of the mashkoin. It's true. He has to give it back every night if it's the only item of the poor person, because the Torah says you have to be humanistic, let's say. But the item itself actually belongs to the malve, not the loive, as long as he wasn't yet paid. So it's not a regular metaltalin. You telling him, don't look at me and say, don't take our pillow. No, it's not your pillow, it's mine. If it's item belonging to you and there was no mashko and your father owes me, I don't know, money, 10,000 shekels hovering in the air, in milve airspace, in the star, and you have your own items that belong to you. But that item, the mashkoin, belongs to me, happens to be by you at the time of death. But really, mashkoin actually belongs, and Rashi reminds us of this at the very last words on the page. You can see the mashkoin belongs to the owner. Kevin the mashkoin ekanye. That's the concept, and that's the halacha. However, now we're going to have a bit of a discussion here. Meisibi, we're going to now challenge Rabbi Yochanan from a brisa. Amar Rabbi Meir. The Meir asks the question, which many of us, I'm sure, are asking, and I asked all my life. If you give it back to him all the time, yeah, in other words, every time he needs it, he has it, where's the means of pressure, right? Yeah. I always thought mashkon means, oh, I'm missing my pajama, my one and only pajama, I better pay quickly. There's no pressure here. So what's the whole point of the mashkon? The Gemara is going to develop the question slowly. The question, not the answer. Amar Rabbi Meir. If you took a mashkon from someone, why do you have to give it back to him? Why give it back every night? Frag the Gemara rhetorically. The Gemara is answering by a rhetorical question. What do you mean, why do you give it back? You do what the Torah says. The Torah says, give back the mashkon, give it back. That's not a question. The Torah says, as a poor man, give it back to him. Ella, we're rephrasing the question. Oh, in other words, I understand you gave it back to him. Then what do you gain? What do you gain by taking it again? Yeah, what do you gain by taking it again and again? You took it back to him. Now you're taking the malve, the lender. You take it back to yourself. What are you gaining by that? There's no pressure, no nothing. Answers the Gemara. Here comes the answer. 2 things you gain. Although there's a ping pong and he always has a pajama when he needs it, there's still something you gain. What is that thing? Shaloi teheh shvis meshamatetoy. The shvis is not meshamet. Interesting. We all know that unless you write fruitful, which we do, then anybody who owes you money, yeah, you cannot charge it from him. Shmitas ksofim, right? Shmita is not only by land, it's also by money. You lent money, after Shmita, you can say goodbye, kapuras, to your money. However, if there's a mashkoin, then Shmita does not omit the choiv, doesn't cancel out the choiv. Why? The same reason. Because it's your mashkoin. In other words, yeah, if I have a mashkoin in my hands, yeah, as Shmita came in, the mashkoin was in my hands, that's my mashkoin, and it's my mashkoin. Even if I give it back to you 10 times, it's kilo, you have to pay me for my item. It's kilo, I bought your pajama, now you have to pay me for that. Yeah, we translated it to a whole new transaction. Shmita or not Shmita, I don't care. And the second of Kamina, which has to do with our case, with our halacha, it says, V'lo yaseh metaltalin etzel banov. And also, if I get, what did we say? I gave it back to him, and I take it back to myself. What do I gain by having the mashkon in my hands? Yeah, that in case he dies while the mashkon is in my hands, then it's not considered regular metaltalin owned by the children, but it's considered as my thing, yet in my possession. It's like you play ball. Oh, now it's by me. When he died, the father, I was lucky enough to have the mashcoin in my hands, and now you cannot run away. Oh, that's not like we said. It's not like Rav Sheshes was saying before, right? Why? Because, so sorry, it's Rabbi Yochanan, not Rav Sheshes, asks the Gemara, Taima dehadaru mashkene. It's only because after returning the pillow at night, the day later, the Malva, got it back from him. I was lucky enough, holding my breath, that he died while the pillow was in my possession. Oh, now I got the pillow. It sounds like, let's say I would not get it back from him. I would return the pillow for a long time, and he died while the pillow was in his possession. Then really what? Then I lost it. And it's not like we said before, not like Rabbi Yochanan, right? It's only because I happen to be lucky enough to have the mashkon in my hand. Amar Ravada bar Matna, Ravada Matna has an answer. And he says, V'lav terutzi kametaretzlo. You anyhow changed a bit of this brisa. You may as well change a little bit more. Taritzachi. You can answer one more answer. You can change a bit further. That's the question. That's the question. The question was about about the ping pong. Why do you do the back and forth? The question was, what's the point? As I was asking originally, meikore, which means why do you bechlal in general have the concept of mashkoin? If you give it back to him every night when he needs it to sleep, he sleeps at night, not by day. Yeah. So if he sleeps by night and it's memashkenin, what's memashkenin for? What do you gain by that? Yeah. Right. Exactly. And says the Gemara. Now comes the Gemara and says Shalot Shvis Mashmatitoy. So the Shvit doesn't really stop it, doesn't really cancel the Choiv. And also V'loyasem metaltelin etzel bonov. And also Loyasem metaltelin etzel bonov. What's Loyasem metaltelin etzel bonov? Oh, ever. It's not about the reason why. It's not like originally we thought, why do you take it back every time, every morning? You hope to be lucky that when he dies, it will be in your possession, then you chapped it. Now we say, no. The whole idea of mashkoin, whether it's in my hands as a malve or in his hands as a loive, both cases, lo yasem metaltelin etzel bonov. Yeah? Lo yasem metaltelin etzel bonov, which means it will never be considered as regular metaltelin, but rather, what is it going to be? It's going to be always something belonging to the malve, and the malve will be able to collect from it, even if it's in the hands of the children, and that's halacha. Halacha says even if he died, and the pillow or the pajama or the shirt or the plow or whatever he needs is one glass, I don't know, whatever that is, it's never metaltalin by the children. It's always considered to be something that is owed to the malve, and even if by the time of death the children held on to it, he will regally come to their house, escorted by BSD maybe, and take the mashkon from them, because the mashkon conceptually belongs to him. So even now Toysves give. Let's see Toysves. Is anybody up to Toysves? Let's see Toysves. Lama mashkon mikore. Toysves give the other yeshlo. You would feel like Toysves. Ikshar belchonon. Yeah. The lama chozer mashkenin. The Belchonon, one of the Balatoises, is suggesting other answers to the Gemara's question. Shloimar, two other reasons. First of all, the loive cannot deny, right? In other words, if I have his pillow every day, at least 50% of the time, he cannot deny. Let's say it's his pillow with his initials on it. The initial is AG, Oni Godoil, whatever, yeah, the big Oni, yeah. Then what? He cannot deny. What is he doing in my hands? Yeah, I'm not a gazlan. It's a collateral. Yeah, something's going on. Right. Okay, but we're talking. First, is trying to find alternative answers without the children. The gam but listen to this. He will be pressurized to hasten, be quickly and borrow money from other people. Why? He's ashamed. The oni, the one who borrowed, the borrower is also a bit embarrassed. Every day to get the mashkon back to his house is embarrassing. The neighbors and the children and people see, you get your mashkon, you have a loan. to get the constant reminder. It's nice he has his pajama and it's nice and humane, but at the end of the day, he also feels lo naim. Says Tosfos, Mikol Makom Lo Ratzah Gemara Tartzkin. Gemara didn't answer these answers. V'chulei da'adifim minei mishani lei. Yeah, in other words, the Gemara has better answers than me, says Tosfos. So although these answers are also true, but we have more solid answers. Weiter. Tonu Abonon. More on the same. Tonu Abonon. Yeah. It says in the Brisa. Lo tova el beisoi la'avoit avoit toy. It says don't come to his house to take the mashkoin. Now that's an extra word, his house. Obviously, if it says don't come to take his collateral, I assume it's in his house and not in the street. What's beisoi, his house? What is it coming to exclude or tell me? Says the Brisa, lebeiso nichnas. You're not allowed to go to the house of the, and with some machlokas about the shliach bezdin, right? His house you're not allowed to go into. Aval tanichnas lebeiso shel orev. Oh, the house of an orev, the house of a guarantor, you're allowed to go into and take the item. Let's say a person guaranteed is a guarantor for that poor person, and that orev at the time of payment nobody paid, neither the loive nor the orev, nobody paid. Then the orev to his house you're allowed to go in. That's what the Torah says. As on the Shulchan Aruch, he says that's only if it's an orev kablan. Yeah, if it's an orev kablan. If it's not an orev kablan, orev kablan is an orev that says I'm the same as the loive. You can approach me before you approach the loiva. I'm not the second bench player. I'm as much as the loiva himself. If he's the loiva himself, then you're not allowed to go to his house because he's like the loiva. It's mamish his own choiv. But if he's an orev, is only as a backup person, as a co-signer, as a backup guarantor, then you are allowed to go to his house. That's what the Torah says. I think there's a svara here. That's my own svara. He feels less embarrassed because it's not really his choiv. He never really borrowed the money. He's not really the one owing the money. In a way, it's just his business deal. It's not really a debt. What? Yes, not only has to give, if he wasn't paid, then you go to his house, even you barge in, you go in. And we bring here a pasuk from Mishlei. Lokach bigdoi ki orav zar. You take his item, his garment, because orav, he guaranteed a strange person, a stranger. The oimer, here's another pasuk, not exactly the same, but a similar idea, similar topic. Bni, this is Shlomo Melech, says, Bni, my son. If you became a guarantor for your friend, now very interesting. The pasuk talks about two separate situations and how to deal with them. Situation number one, you became a guarantor. That's a very kind-hearted person. You guarantee for your friend. That's case number one. That's still on the same thing. You shook your hand. In other words, you basically committed yourself. You made a commitment through a handshake. That's case number one. You basically insulted someone. Maybe willingly, unwillingly, you were trapped with your own words. Sometimes it happens to you, you say something stupid to someone and you feel very bad, right? He was very hurt. You were trapped with your own words, right? You didn't mean to hurt him. But sometimes you do mean. You're trapped by Yetzer Hara. You insulted someone. Yeah, you did all bonus ponim. You don't know what to do now. So two separate situations. Sometimes you try to be very good, like an Orev. Sometimes you do something very foolish and bad. What do? You were trapped with your bad words. You basically offended someone. What do you do then? Do the following, therefore, my son. I'll tell you how to be saved from those situations. Yeah, what can you do? If it's a handshake, the guarantor, hitrapes. Soon we're going to see what hitrapes means. What's the solution for someone who's guarantor? Hitrapes. We'll discuss that soon. Ater pas. The second story. The rahav re'echo. The second solution is many friends. Rahav is like harbe friends. What does it mean? The Gemara will explain. If it's a money issue, you owe money to someone because what? Somebody's angry with you. You're a guarantor. Where's your money? There's no other choice. Hater pas, hitrapes. Hater, release your palm. Give the money. There's no other choice. In other words, yeah, if all you owe is money, give back the money. If you don't have it, borrow, work, do something. Hitrapes, hater pas. Release, latil. Just let the palm, flow. Ve'im lav. However, if the issue is an insult, harbe olav reim, then you should bring many friends and say sorry. That's halacha. We just said Yom Kippur. If your friend is insulted, doesn't talk to you, yeah, your friend doesn't. So if he doesn't forgive you one on one, you should bring other people. And sometimes people want, to have it more ceremonial. So bring other people, other friends, and apologize to him in the presence of others, or you send people to him. The halacha says, what it says Shulchan Aruch, it's not like I said, that's another opinion, but you should send him messengers, right? Because maybe he doesn't want to talk to you, but maybe through a go-between, right? Through somebody from the UN, or I'm saying a messenger, an in-between, a go-between, he would be willing to listen. So that you have to do 3 times. If after 3 times they didn't forgive, what can you do? You do your best, but that's it. Letzad sheni is like v'inami, another alternative pshat. Why does it say lebeisoi? So basically, what did we say here, la halacha? That's halacha. Lebeisoi, what's his house? You're not allowed to go to the house of the loive and take whatever you want, but to the house of the orev, the guarantor, you are allowed to. Letzad sheni, another pshat. Lebeisoi iatanichnas. You're not allowed to go to his house for the purpose of your loan. Let's say you lent him 10,000, right? He didn't pay you the 10,000 after a month. Barge in, go in, you're not allowed to. Aval, you are allowed to go and charge money for other debts, not debts, for other payments that he has to give you. Let's say, besides everything else, you happen to do work for him. You're the malve, you're the lender. Yeah, let's say the plumber. That's a very good idea. The plumber is a rich guy. What did he do? He lent the poor guy money. Okay. Is a plumber allowed to go to his house and take whatever he wants? No. Oh, but let's say the kataf. Kataf is I'd say plumber because it's more common today. Kataf is like a schlepper, like a shoulder, like a porter. What? A laborer who schleps around. Let's say the person who lent money is a plumber or a schlepper or a porter, and now the loive owes him money for that. It's a two separate debt completely. Or l'sachar chamar, besides the fact you owe me money, also what did I do? I rented you my donkey. Rent a donkey. You never paid me for the rented donkey. You had one day with your kids and the donkey. You didn't pay me. L'schar pundak, you owe me money for the inn. I'm an inn owner. You owe me money for other things. That's besides. But pundak, you owe me for what? I allowed you to stay in my hotel or even in my house, rental. L'schar yuknois. Yeah, I painted. I did a painting for you, and you didn't pay me for that in the house. Yeah. So all these things you are allowed to go into his house for. In other words, if he refuses to pay, and he wasn't yet a debt, he owes you what? He owes you money for the plumbing job, for the porter job, for the picture painted, for the donkey you rented out, for the anything you want, for the rental, for this. Those things you're allowed to go into his house and take. He refuses. You go into the house and takes. He starts playing games. You take it through BSD, not through BSD. That's another thing. Oh, what happens if they decided and they said that nicely, and the person who owes the money says, "Listen, I don't have money. I'm a loive. It's true you did this amazing, beautiful plumbing job by me. Let's decide it's a debt. Yeah, let's turn that into an official debt. Let's write down. Yeah, payment for the plumbing job that was done Erev Yom Kippur will be given middle of Cheshvan, like a debt, like a real shtar choiv. What about then? Am I allowed to take collateral for that barging in? No. Talmud loimer masas me'uma. Me'uma means anything. Masas is a loan. Any kind of loan, even if there are two, because now it's a loan. A loan, I'm not allowed to take by myself. I'm not allowed to take with my own accord whatever I want and go into his house and take for any loan, not the original loan and not the loan that originally was a schar sochir payment for work that was supposed to do. But if it's payment for work that he's just not paying, it wasn't agreed upon. There was no agreement that will be a debt like Zokaf. He changed it into a milveh. He's not paying. That I'm allowed to go in. He refuses to pay. I see it. That's a whole different question about taking the law into your hands. But generally speaking, from what we see over here, yes. In other words, if I know that he owes me, and he knows he owes me, everybody knows he owes me, Bezdin knows, it's not a question he owes me the money for the plumbing job, and he doesn't deny it. I'm not giving it. Then I'm allowed to go to his house. I'm not saying halacha l'maisa, don't do it, don't try it at home, but conceptually, I can go in and take whatever I want because it's not yet a debt. It didn't yet transform to being a proper debt. A debt, the Torah gave extra chashivus, extra care, and extra protection to the people who owe money as a Baal Choiv, as a loive, as a lender. A person who Stam doesn't pay because Stam is dawdling the schar, is keeping it, holding the schar, he's not a loive, he doesn't have any of these rights. I'm not saying halacha l'maaseh that anybody who doesn't pay, you can just barge into his house and take whatever you want. That's not the right way of doing it. All the Gemara says for now, that particular isser of latov el beiser does apply then. Yeah. Sometimes there is a sugi in other places. If the guy refuses and you know it's very difficult, yeah, and there's no way you can take him to Beis Din, sometimes there are situations you can take the law into your hand and take something of his. Yes. I'm not saying when and where, I don't remember either, actually, to be honest. I know there are situations. And if you do that, you're not breaking the particular love over here, the prohibition of Lotov El Beiser. That's what I'm saying. That's what the Gemara is saying. Yeah. Says the Mishnah. Yeah. Let's see the Mishnah. See how far we can get. Zok the Heilige Mishnah. By the way, before we continue, there is Shiur Be'ezus Hashem tomorrow and the day after. Yeah. Okay. Wednesday, Thursday. I hope it's okay with you, because we have to get both Metzia finished before Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. That's my plan. So we have now, and then we have a few days after Sukkot. Okay, today, tomorrow, Thursday, and then Simchas Torah, Motzi Simchas Torah, Yisro Chag. There's no Shiur, but the following day there will be Shiur all the way through. Be'ezus Hashem. Okay, the week following Sukkot. Okay, says the Mishnah. What? No, tomorrow and the day after, Wednesday, Thursday. And after next week, after Sukkot, yeah. I'm saying this online also for people who watch us online, should also remember. Says the Mishnah Almona. There's a special isser about an almona, about a widow. So tachbo beged almona. You're not allowed to take the item, the garment of a widow. Says the Mishnah Almona. Ben shi ania, ben shi ashira, en mamashkin inoiso. An almona, a widow, lives by herself, maybe with her children, but she doesn't have a husband, of course. She never remarried. Whether she's poor or rich, you're not allowed to be mamashkin her and take her item. Shenema lotachbel beged almona, special issa for an almona. Normally, one would say, what? Because she's poor. Almonas v'yasoimim, usually in the Torah, widows and orphans are always, like a synonym of miskinim, of poor people, they have nobody to protect them. Usually their financial situation is not amazing, right? And therefore we assume that's what the Torah means, and there is such an opinion. But our Mishnah says no. Our Mishnah says there's a whole different reason. When almana, you do not go to her house to take the beged, to take her item, whether she's poor or even rich. Says the Gemara, Ton Rabbanon, here comes a brisa. Yeah, Tonu Rabbanon. Yeah. Almono, ben shi ania, ben shi ashira, en memashkin nanoiso div Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says whether the almono is poor or rich, you don't take the mashkin from her. Yeah, he doesn't say to what extent, but generally speaking, mashkin taken. You don't go to her house, maybe not at all. We're going to see, but there's no mashkin ben almono. Ashira memashkin inoiso. If she's rich, yes, you can take the mashkin. She's rich. She has 12 fancy, clothes. Yeah, you can take one from parents. Ania en memashkin inoiso. The ania is the one you're not allowed to take from her. From the ania, you should not take. Why? Because what happens if you take, let's say, the nightgown of an almona, which is poor? What happens then? She is like a man, like any poor person. Very good. You're going to give it back to her every night, every day, whatever that one garment. And if you start knocking on her door every night with a nightdress, doesn't look nice. Doesn't exactly look good. In other words, you cause her to have bad name amongst her neighbors. The neighbors would say, "What's this guy coming every night with a nightie? Yeah, every night. That doesn't look very good. Yeah, and she's a single woman. Yeah, interested in. Doesn't look so good. Therefore, says Reb Shimon, that was the Torah's idea. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Rabbi Yehuda says, listen. The Torah says, don't take the item from an almana. You don't take the item of an almana without going into reasons. Reb Shimon seems to investigate, inquire, Why did the Torah say almana dafke, a woman who's a widow, not a poor man? Oh, must be because she's the one. Yeah. You'll have to give her back every night. Doesn't look good. Looks a bit suspicious. Therefore, only if she's poor. If she's a rich almana, I'm not going to see her for 3 months, right? For whatever, until the debt is over. Frag the Gemara, Lememra, is that so? Are you coming to tell me from this brisa? Lememra, is this brisa telling me the Rabbi Yehuda loy dorish time dekro, the Rabbi Shimon dorish time dekro? Oh, there's always a machloikes, as we see now. We're going to see soon. Do you or don't you, darish? Do you try and learn and infer and inquire into the tam? What's tam? Reason of the posuk. Yeah. Do you follow the reasoning of the psukim or don't you? Here it looks like Rabbi Yehuda says, no, Rabbi Yehuda says, I am not looking for the reasons of the Torah. The Torah says, you don't take from Almana, don't take from Almana. Why shouldn't I take the item of a rich Almana? She has 20 nightgowns and I'm not going to see her at all. Because the Torah said so. We're not going to reasons. And Rabbi Shimon, don't time to call. Rabbi Shimon says, oh, wait a second, let's use our own logic. Let's use our own logic and say, oh, the Torah must have meant that. Yeah, it's a poor one because it's going to look funny if I come every night, 1990. That could be very nice. But we actually, in a different sugya, in a different place, in Sanhedrin, we see just the opposite. We see Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon taking opposite stands, a different machlokas, but with the same reason, the same ideas to say the opposite. What's the story? The Tanya. It says, V'lo yarbe lo noshim. Oh, it says about the Torah, about the Melech, a king is not allowed to have many wives. He's not allowed to increase and marry too many wives, not more than 18, only 18. Only 18. He should have mistapik b'muat, only 18 wives, not more than that. Lo yarbe lo noshim. Yeah, right, okay. That's also an issue. Lo yarbe lo noshim, but it says why. There the Torah says why. Yeah, it says they should not remove his heart from avodas Hashem. Too many women can drive one crazy. You know, like B'Shlomo Melech, what happened to him? He married Kenei Nahora 1,000, and what? And really Baspara started Kilu. In his high darga, she would have avodah zarah, right? And she would show him of the avodah zarah, and he turned a blind eye when she built avodah zarah centers and she worshipped avodah zarah. In any event, what does it say over there? Don't marry too many women, lest they will make you go astray from the ways of Hashem. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda there is the one who says, wait a second, the Torah is telling me, let's think with our own minds, with our own moral compass. What? What did the Torah say? Don't marry too many women who are going to remove your heart from Hashem. Says Rabbi Yehuda, listen to this, Marbehu, you're allowed to have as many women as you want as a king. Let's say they're all big tzidkonios, all Besyakov graduates from the strongest seminaries, yeah, they will definitely not remove his heart from the ways of Hashem. The other way around, they'll make him even frumer. Then that's okay, right? The Torah gave me a reason, right? The Torah told me don't marry two women who are, so-so, chafif, half room. Those women don't marry. But the woman is very strong, you should marry her according to that. Rabbi Shimon Oimer, no. Afilu achas v'mesiras libo harezo lo yisraeno. Says Rabbi Shimon, wait a minute. Even one woman who may remove your heart from Hashem, don't marry her, right? Are you supposed to marry a woman who's not good enough for you spiritually? That will remove your heart from Hashem? No. And that's what the Torah is telling you. Yeah, if so, why is the Torah telling me not to increase women, right? What does number have to do with avodas Hashem? If she's a girl who's going to cause him to start going astray from Hashem, then what? Then not even one. The Melech has a special isser not to marry a woman who will make him slide, go a little bit off. If so, why is the Torah telling me not to have too many women? It has nothing to do with quantity, only quality. Says Rab Shimon, as expected, afilu Abigail, even Abigail who was a Neviah. Abigail, out of all of David the Melech's women, Abigail was a Neviah. She was one of the only 7 prophetesses in Tanakh. Megillah Yudalid. Yeah. So even a big tzedekis like Abigail, no, don't marry her. Why? Because you're not allowed to have too many women, more than 18 women. The biggest tzidkonis like Abigail, Esther, the biggest Neviah, Sarah Imeinu, you're not allowed to marry them, which again has no reason. So you see now, over here, what do we see? Rabbi Yehuda says, what? I am actually going without any explanation. When it comes to Beged Almana, says Rabbi Yehuda, No. The Torah says not to take the beged of almana. I'm not going to touch the almana's item. Why? Because I don't know why. Rich, poor, shmur, I don't care about a financial situation. Shimon started saying, no, let's think, let's inquire. Why this? Only makes sense by the Torah probably meant only the poor one because that's going to look funny. It looks like I'm after her. Yeah. And by Melech, it's the other way around. The one who was inquiring was Rabbi Yehuda. But it says, listen, the Torah meant not too many if they remove his heart. But if there are 1,000 women and he checked into the CV of Shidduchim of each and every one of the big tzaddikas, then it's fine. Oh, so Rabbi Yehuda is kilu making the Torah, they're more flexible by logic. And Rabbi Shimon is one who's then hardliner, says, no, the Torah says not more than 18, no more than 18. Boom, I don't know why. So they're contradicting themselves, right? Answers the Gemara, no. La'olam, let's start with Rabbi Yehuda. La'olam Rabbi Yehuda, loy doish tamid deko. Really, Rabbi Yehuda, normally Rabbi Yehuda is no doish tamid deko, right? Normally, like over here, in our case, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't go into the philosophy and the reasons. Rabbi Yehuda, good Jew. It says no, we say no. The Torah says what? For example, in our case, do not take the item of almana. Don't take the item of almana. Full stop. Yeah. Why? By the king, he's yes telling me. My time very good. Over there, the Torah gave you a reason. It's not me, says Rabbi Yehuda. I'm not being the Oiber Chacham. Oh, usually, by the way, the Torah doesn't tell you the reasons for Istur Lo Taseh. Have you noticed that? It's one of the very rare occasions by Melech where it says, don't marry too many women because it's going to cause you this and that. The Torah doesn't tell you don't kill because it's immoral. Yeah. Doesn't say don't wear shatnez because it's disturbing someone up there. No, it doesn't. Yeah. Over here, the Torah went out of its way. Says Rabbi Yehuda, I'm reading the Torah in a very tmimisdik way. I'm not looking into reasons. The Torah gave me reasons. The Torah says, don't marry too many women because it'll make you go astray. The Torah itself is giving me a clause and a loophole that if all 1,000 women are big tzedekiyos, big tzedkonios, then it's okay. Reb Shimon. Now, what about Reb Shimon? There was also a contradiction. Right? Usually it says the reason of the crow. Usually Reb Shimon learns the time of the crow. For example, over here, Reb Shimon normally by default, he learns that he goes by the reasoning. For example, by Almana. By Almana, the Torah didn't give you a reason. Rabbi Shimon says, I know how to figure out the reason myself. The Torah is relying on my own logic to figure out what and why. Like with the Almana. Only a poor one, not a rich one. If so by the Melech, lichtav rachmano lo yarbe, lo beinan lo yosu. If so by the Torah, it's redundant that the Torah by Melech wrote to me the extra reason. The Torah doesn't have to write me, why should you have too many women, the royalty, Mr. King? Because we know by ourselves that it's because they're going to make him go astray. The Torah shouldn't have written the words, they shouldn't make him go astray. I would have known it myself. I would realize myself that too many women who are not the right way that cause him to go astray. So why did the Torah write to me the extra reason lo yosu? It's coming to tell me a different Easter, to tell me that even if there's only one woman who may make him go astray, he should not marry her. I wanted to explain something which I think I'm not sure you understood or I explained well enough, and we're finishing now by the Mishnah. Of course, it's not good for any Jewish person to marry a girl who's going to make him go down in Ruchnis, obviously, but it's not an Issa d'Oraisa. That's the difference. It's not a good idea, not good advice in Shidduchim, right? But Lemaisa here, there's a specific Issa d'Oraisa. Rabbi Shimon says we break it apart to two reasons. Dafkir, because the Torah gave me a redundant reason, I don't need that reason. I know the reason anyways, it shouldn't make him go astray for the lo yarbe. Therefore, I cut it into two. There's lo yarbe separately. Don't marry too many women, full stop. And the other part of the pasuk is a separate Isser. You have an Isser d'Oraisa, my royalty. You're not allowed to marry even one woman and make you go astray. It's a separate Isser. That's Reb Shimon. But both Rabbi and Reb Shimon are okay. They're not contradicting themselves, and it's the same idea all the time. Rabbi Yehuda does not say time of the crow, and Rabbi Shimon does believe in time of the crow. There with the Melech, it's a whole different story because there the Torah added an extra reason, which usually doesn't. But when the Torah doesn't give you a reason, then Rabbi Yehuda is not doirish, Rabbi Shimon is doirish. Up to the next Mishnah tomorrow, Metzia Hashem. Thank you very much. See you all tomorrow and bring all your friends along. Thank you to everyone in Torah Anytime and a YouTube channel. Thank you. Stay with us tomorrow and the other day and the entire year. Have a happy, good Tafshin Pei Dalit.